Following is a special presentation of RaceSpot TV on the iRacing Esports Network.
$10,500 richer, two-time NASCAR athlete. Here's your 2013 NASCAR iRacing. It's going to be Humvee winning the race, and it's going to be Conti taking away his first NASCAR 2017 NASCAR Beginner Free Series Championship to Ryan Loser. Federer is a four-time champion of the NASCAR Beginner Free iRacing Series.
It is Sunday night, and that means one thing. It is time for the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. And today we do things a little bit differently. We head ourselves to an oval. So we are going to say hello and welcome to ISM Raceway. Many people will know that as the track in Avondale, Arizona, near Phoenix, because realistically, it still is Phoenix. This is the track that has been a part of the NASCAR schedule for some while now, since about 1984. It had hosted a number of rounds of the Horizon IndyCar Series, now the NTT IndyCar Series, but they will not be going back there this year. One thing that is back, that is the 2K World Cup, as drivers are getting ready to go out and do some racing. We're using a 2008 layout of this track today, so this track is the one that's just a little bit bumpier. You've got the walls that close in down at turn number 1 and 2. It is a fun race though. We're going to be going for 70 laps or 55 minutes, whichever one of those will come first. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen, it's Will Vincent. Jake Sperry unfortunately cannot be with us today, so it's a solo shift after what has been a very long day's worth of commentary. But you know what? We'll pull through and we'll do this one together. As ever, I want to give a shout out to Isman Balau, TrackCams22.com, Andreas Warner, and Warner Design, Simon Grossman, Engineering.com, and Nick Thyssen for RaceSpot TV, live timing and scoring. So, qualifying, there's not really a lot you can talk about in terms of qualifying at a track which has only got 4 curves. But what we are going to do is look at the driver who is on pole position. We might want to call him a little bit of an oval specialist, but he has done his run. That's Tram. We'll start Bullion bringing that car on towards pit road. Of course, if this race stays green, getting onto pit road here is mighty complicated. However, that's almost an uncertain possibility. As we're on board of Harrison Bingham right now, let's have a look on board of him. Harrison Bingham then, 34.465 that time around. He remains actually at the rear of the field. So 29 drivers have set qualifying times. Here's one guy who has them. It's Philippe Leber. He is going to go onto a lap now. So he's done his out lap on board of him, hug the yellow line down towards turn number 1 and 2. You've then actually got the dog leg, which isn't classified as a corner, according to NASCAR. Realistically, this is a 5-corner racetrack, but into turn number 3 and 4, he will come anyway. We'll use it as turn number 3 and 4. Philippe Leber, well, he's got a teammate up at the top of the timing stands right now. That's Turan. Philippe Leber past the start-finish line, 33.871. That'll put him inside the top 5 for the moment. It'll put him in 3rd, and he is not going to do that second lap by looks of it. Or is he? Let's go back on board with him. No, he's clearly not. He's clearly nowhere near fast enough right now. Unless my eyes are absolutely deceiving me. Philippe Leber is going to do one and done then here in qualifying. And that is qualifying almost in the books. Carl Trunke went out and did a lap that put him in the last position. So what we are going to do, ladies and gentlemen, in a moment's time is have a look at your starting grid here in the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. Don't forget, live timing and scoring will be available once this race starts. Just visit racesport.tv/timing for that one. Qualifying's over, or almost over. Technically, 15 seconds to go until qualifying is scored complete and in the books. And what we can now do, ladies and gentlemen, as that qualifying will tick over to 0, is have a look at your starting grid for this round of the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. Turan's going to start on the pole position here. Borgesazo will be alongside him on the front row of the grid. Just 15 1/1000ths of a second separating the two drivers. Philippe Leber, we saw his qualifying lap. He will rock on out in 3rd place here with Andrea Amon alongside him on row number 2 of the grid. Diego Francisco inside of row 3. Neil Kemp on the outside of that 3rd row. Brian Lockwood in 7th position. Brian Duell in 8th. 9th place will go to Martin Cruz. And Andrew Pecorio rounds out your top 10. Francois Boulienne on the inside of row number 6. He'll be joined on that row with Enzo Cantor. And then we've got ourselves Melody El Fafti in 13th place. Inside of row number 7. Edwin Valerino alongside him on row 7 with Matt Defoe and Sebastian Schultz making up that front row of the grid. Kane Halliburton in P number 17, Hans Hoyer in 18th, Colin Van Ram 19th, Simon Edwards 20th. Remainder of the results up on your screen now. So getting ready then to get things underway here. As I said, 70 laps or 55 minutes, whichever one will come first. And we'll keep you up to date with that one over the course of this event. If the race has 4 cautions or fewer, we will basically make it on laps. Otherwise, this race will come down to time. Having a look at the front of your field. And let's turn our attention over to your pole sitter. This is Turan in the number 21 TT racing machine. He's got that pole position. We almost expected him to get the pole position for this event. He is a little bit of an oval specialist in the 2K World Cup. As you can see, we are on board with him. The lights are off in the pace car. This track measures more than 3/4 of a mile. Therefore, it is one lap. And that is all we're going to get before we go green. There's the pace car in. Let's go racing at ISS M Raceway. Turn number 1. Are we going to get all the drivers through that first corner without an incident? Well, we've got a little bit of two-wide racing going on already. So you have a look then from the start-finish line down the back straightaways. The drivers head themselves down through the kink. The mid-pack has already got a little bit of two-wide racing. These drivers have been nice and smooth through the first 2 corners, but we've got a driver coming on towards pit road right now. So that is going to change the scope of things a little bit, and we'll see who that is. That is Borgesazo, who's going to come down, I believe, serve a penalty. Lap number 2 of 70. The laps will tick through quickly if we stay green here. Live timing and scoring will be available in just 20 seconds. Check it out, racesport.tv/timing for that one. But we've got battles going on already all the way through your field. We're going to check in on a couple of those in just one moment's time as we just click a couple of buttons, and it's why magic timing and scoring is working. Kane Halliburton, he's down in 12th place right now. We ride on board with him as lap number 2 scored complete in towards turn number 1. Turn number 1 is the trickier of the 2 corners in many ways, as Andrea Amon versus Brian Dewell is going on for 3rd place on track. Number 9 machine, the TT racing car of Andrea Amon, has the inside lines. They come through turn number 3 and 4. Turan and Philippe Leibert, they are battling for position as well, as we're going to go on board with the driver of Turan. Leibert is going to have the lap led at the line, and this is going to be really important today, because it's not necessarily going to be a case of do you manage to lead as in be in the front of the field every corner. It actually might be a little bit about how good are you at just being able to have the lead at the start or finish time. That is important in terms of bonus points. We go on board with the driver of Brian Lockwood. He's battling 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th position on track. We have a look. Just use that 360 camera, and that is the number 9 of Andrea Amon again. So they go side by side, off of corner number 4 and down towards the start finish line again. 2 by 2 they come through turn number 1. We've had a couple of people on pit road, Borgesazo, Diego Francisco and Colin Van Ram. Zaza and Van Ram with penalties. They didn't make a pit stop, it actually just came down towards pit road. This is the kink. This is where you're going to see separation and drivers go 3 wide when they need to. Out front, we've got a little bit of 3 wide. We had 3 wide for a moment. Brian Dewell has managed to move himself in that positive sim racing University of Isabella 1 car up to the top of the timing stands, but he cannot lead the lap. Philippe Leibert leads the lap, and Brian Dewell going to try the high side through turns number 1 and 2. Not able to do so, and keep an eye out on laps led here today. We'll check it out on Racesport TV, live timing and scoring, and this is a good look at the drivers as they storm down through the kink and in towards NASCAR turn 3 and 4. Not quite sure why I called it NASCAR turn 3 and 4, apart from the fact that, of course, we have been running the iRacing 24 Hours of Daytona, and, well, you get into the habit of calling it turn 3 and 4. Brian Dewell has the lead of the motor race as we're looking on board with Martin Cruz right now, and Brian Dewell and Philippe Leibert, they are flip-flopping positions as they head down the back straight away. Brian Dewell is on the outside. Philippe Leibert is on the inside. The 3rd driver that you can see is Turan in the number 21 car, and then Brian Lockwood in the number 43. Of course, you've got the outside line made out of non-TT racing drivers, the inside line firmly being made by TT racing drivers right now. This race really does have a packed feel to it, because we've already done 10% of this race. Andrew Pecori, you can just see they are running 2 by 2s, a little bit like what you see at Daytona, just at far, far slower speeds, of course. And this is fantastic racing. You've got your top 15 or so drivers in this lead pack. A lot of room being given, and of course we have seen races before in this series on an oval where not a lot of room was given. As we're on lap number 8 of 17, make that lap number 9 of 17 now as the drivers come past the start-finish line. That is Andreas Robertson we just rode on board with as he heads through turn number 1. Let's go back on board with Brian Dewell, because he has got the lead on the outside line. We'll just turn that camera around and you'll see Philippe Leibert as they come towards the 3rd and 4th corners on this track. Brian Dewell, You see, he doesn't have the lead at this point, but he might be able to pinch Leibert down and get the overspeed. In fact, he is going to stay on the outside line, but he will not get the lead at the line. Leibert leads that lap, and he leads so by about 33 one-thousandths of a second. In fact, it was exactly 33 one-thousandths of a second. Then you've got yourself Tran inside of row number 2 right now. Brian Lockwood alongside him on the outside of row number 2. You've got Martin Cruz. He's running alone by himself. He's just actually going from the outside to the inside, and now we've got the TT Racing train coming back because the inside line, you've got Andrea Amon on the inside of that 3rd row, and he is providing a little bit of assistance to that inside line and the teammate. Let's listen in. You see, they have to lift off the gas through turn number 1 and 2. As I say, it is a tighter corner on the racetrack. And then let's have a listen again as they come through turn number 3 and 4. A little lift. You see the speed going down from almost 200 kilometers an hour down to about 150 through the apex of the corner. Then back onto the noisy pedal. Put the speeds up to 190 to about 200 kilometers an hour as they come in towards turn number 1 and 2 again. Behind, you've got close battles going on. This is what I talk about. The closeness of the racing right now. Here is Francois Boulien versus Enzo Cantor. Cantor is on the outside line, and there you can see the Orion race team car of Francois Boulien on the inside line. So Frostmaster Movano Racing and the Orion race team going at it. That is going on at the rear end of your top 10, but note the fact that they can still see the leaders as they come past the stripe. In fact, you've currently got your top 10 drivers within 1 second of your race leader. That's the sort of thing you see at Chicagoland when you used to have the IndyCars running there. And then here's your second pack. It really starts with Steve Fiacci down in the 15th position. You've then got a smattering of cars that are actually going to go 3 wide in towards turns number 3 and 4. You've got Carl Drunke, Andreas Robertson, and Scott Veltz in that battle. As they exit corner number 4, 3 wide, the same way they came in, and now work themselves towards the stripe and down towards turn number 1 again. 14 of 70 laps scored complete them in the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. You can, of course, get on touch with us on social media /RaceBotTV, at RaceBotTV on Twitter. Let us know how your 24 hours of Daytona weekend has been going and your thoughts, of course, about this, the 2K World Cup. As we're on board outside your top 20, that is John Morgan in a little 2-way scrap. But what we're going to do, we're going to go back to the front of your field because this is how it is looking right now. Tran is actually fallen down to 4th place, but he is still the second in line on that inside line. Tran, of course, started this race in the 1st position. Pole position, almost like we expected, as I said earlier, in the 2K World Cup. He's a bit of an oval specialist. He did actually catch the curb, though. I say the curb, the transition between the banking, as actually we had a car off on the grass. This is Andreas Robertson right now. We are staying green for the moment, but he's completely binned that car. Now what he wants to do is actually get it back to the pits without creating a yellow flag situation. Because he's on the April, we are okay. This race will stay green. So we can go back to this. The TT Racing train on the inside, the non-TT Racing train on the outside. It continues as we work now onto lap number 17 of 70 in this event, as this seems to be how it stands. It's very hard for anyone to pull away, of course, in this draft lock scenario. This will come down a little bit to strategy, working through the cautions, trying things out, understanding what it is going on track. But Neil Kemp right now, we're right on board of him in the number 81 car. He is running in the 8th position on track as he comes down towards the start-finish line on track. And that time by, I believe Brian Duell did lead the lap, but Philippe Leibert is now leading as he pulls that car on the inside line, still side by side. Brian Duell goes back to the point, but it all comes down to who leads at the line in this one because of the bonus point situations. You don't get points for leading 2/3 of a lap, you get points for leading the entire, the final part of the lap as they come past the start or finish line. You don't do a bonus points by yard situation here, as that time by, it looked as though Brian Dewell was your leader. I'm just going to put up, actually, Racesport TV live timing and scoring, because I'm sure, actually, it's just going a little bit bonkers at this stage, but Dewell and Leibur, they seem to be comfortable out front. And yeah, we've had Dewell leading at the line, Leibur leading at the line, Dewell leading at the line, Leibur leading at the line. So they've each already got some bonus points in this one, and there's plenty of bonus points on offer in this race as well. Andrea Amon in the number 9 car, riding on board with Andrea in towards turn number 1. As you can see, there's now a big separation between pack number 1 and pack number 2. Now, this is actually not a bad thing. If you get the separation in the packs, what it does mean is you run the risk of not having a caution. So actually, it makes it easier for each of the packs because you don't have to check up as much. You can move to the outside line if you want to, like Francois Bullien's done on the outside line now in the 10th position towards the rear of the train. I believe that Brian Dewell led that one at the line. Let's go through in towards turn number 1. In fact, he's got the high side working now in towards turn number 1 and 2 as they just come through the kink once again. And this is the top 8 down at the bottom of your screen. Dewell, Leibur, Lockwood, Tran, Cruz, Amon, Pecoria and Kemp. And we haven't had word yet, or I haven't been able to see yet, but as they come past the start finish line, let's see if we can zoom in. Who's got it this time? That was a photo finish, and I think Brian Dewell had it in what is a literal photo finish because we could not see any time difference between them. Last time by of 33.583 for Philippe Leibur, of 33.572 for Brian Dewell. This is what we're talking about. Literal inches on the racetrack. We go back on board with Brian Dewell because here is Philippe Leibur again on his left-hand side as we're now onto lap number 22 of 70, getting close to 1/3 race distance in this one. I believe Brian Dewell did have that one at the line quite clearly, but again, Leibur closes through turns number 1 and 2. We had a couple more people on towards pit road. Adrian Hendy, Hans Hoyer, Chris Malcolm, Andreas Robertson, we saw him earlier, Anthony Kapp, Matt Defoe, all had incidents, and Diego Francisco has made a full and long scheduled pit stop as well. In terms of the pit window, this is where it gets really interesting. On one hand, you want to run your tanks as long as you possibly can because you might lose a lap working yourself under caution here. In fact, everyone who has come on to make a pit stop has pretty much ended up making themselves one lap down. Just confirming that. You'll be actually, if you do a decent fuel run, then you actually will end up one lap down because the lap time around here is 33.5 and a pit stop with the standard amount of fuel will take you about 37 seconds to go around. But what you've just noticed, those of you who's watching here on the iRacing Esports Network, is that there is some traffic that's coming into play as we're on lap number 25 of 70. These are the drivers at the rear end of your field, and they are looking like they're going to be caught in about 3 laps time. There's only 2 of them, so one would hope that maybe they might just move to the high side. I believe that they are, they're not actually part of this group, they're a group behind. As you just see, this is one of your lead, the last group of people on the lead lap, but it's Hans Hoyer, Chris Malcolm, who are classified right now as being laps down, and they are being caught by your leading group of drivers. Now, what's going to happen is someone is going to have to try and break it down into single file. You notice the fact that out front, Martin Cruz has gone to the inside line. So you've had a bit of a split up now with the TT Racing gang who've been holding that inside line. But what's going to have to happen is either the drivers can move over to the ultra high side or the apron, and I do not recommend dropping down to the apron in these situations, or there's enough room that will allow this group, this gaggle, to go through. It's going to be very close, and it's going to happen in about the next minute and a half or so. We go back on board with Philippe Leber. As you're wondering, no engine explosions yet, but this is where things will get mighty interesting. Philippe Leber still holding that inside line, and the gap between themselves and the little duo that's racing at the moment, it's about a second and a half on track, so it won't be long until they get the draft. And actually what's going to happen is you get a little bit of a super draft if you're in the second or third row. The group is starting to expand out a little bit. As you have a look from the aerial coverage, you'll notice that they're not as packed up as they were. But you got three-wide racing, and you almost had the two TT Racing drivers take themselves out. That is Sharan and Philippe Leber. I want to show this one to you again, just from the overhead, and look at how close it is from Philippe Leber and Sharan as they come down. We are talking literal inches between the two TT Racing drivers, and that's how close it was. Sharan deciding to back out of what otherwise would have been a three-wide situation, as this is really picking up right now. Getting to the end of lap number 29 onto lap number 30 we go, and we did not expect to see this race go green flag for so long. We are only 15 minutes into this event right now, so actually if this race does go green to the end, it'll be one of the shortest 2K races in history. Don't jinx it now, but there's one with a lap traffic just going ultra high side. You can just see, allowing everyone in that pack to go past. There's still one more driver, and they're going to catch him in a hurry, because now this is a draftless driver. And the driver who has gone down a lap, I believe that is, well, Matt Defoe has gone down a lap, but he wasn't the driver I was thinking of. And just trying to have a look through your field once again. Here's Brian Dewell, and they are catching up to that other little bit of traffic. Brian Dewell having the advantage on the high side for a moment, but Philippe Leber running it down. And the issue on being on the outside as well is that things normally go up before they come down. And also, if we do end up having to go into a green flag racing pit stop scenario, you could end up where you just can't find your way on towards pit road. You have to drop to the rear of the field or the rear of the gaggle, the pack of drivers on track, in order to do so. There is the driver. It's the number 8 machine of Chris Malcolm, and let's have a look on board of him as he falls down the order and drops down to 3 laps down, and he hits a wall on the exit of turn number 4, and Malcolm's got to be really careful now. That car is not driving. This could be the first caution of the day, and well, he does bring it down off of the racing surface. Does he manage to stop it in such a way he's onto the roval? We are okay, but Chris Malcolm, well, that could have ended up being A, the first caution of the day, and B, a massive wreck. Almost at the halfway point of this one then here on the iRacing Esports Network, and let's have a look. Movers, shakers, who's getting it done today? Well, Brian Dewell is up 7 places, Martin Cruz is up 6, Steve Riacci is up 10, however, is actually one of the drivers in your second pack right now, so that one could change in a heartbeat. But we've got some big movers in this one. Tran down 3 spots from where he started, and Andrea Amon is down 5 spots as well. Some drivers are more than happy to just sit in a line and wait for the race to develop before they end up in a potential situation where they end up on the wall or worse, out of the event. As of course you can check out Racesport TV live timing and scoring. I'll say it again, racesport.tv/time. Let's go on board for a lap with Andrea Amon. We got people on towards pit road. Andrea Amon is one of those drivers. You've also got yourself the number 2 car, Philippe Leber, on towards pit road at the halfway stage of this event. Now, I want to keep up this timer, and we want to time exactly how long it is, because it may well be the case that Philippe Leber and those people pitting now will have to be dropped down 1 lap. The reason why I say that is because a lap around here is 33.4 seconds. And, well, they've just done 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38 seconds. But the good news for Philippe Leber is a couple of drivers have come in. There is the gaggle of cars as Leber. Will he be able to get back out on track? Yes. But all of a sudden, he is a lap down to everyone else. And the thing about this is now, if there is a caution, yes, everyone else will come in, but Leber will end up being at the rear of the drivers on the lead lap, and those drivers will then have to charge back through the field. What this means is Martin Cruz is your new race leader, and we've got ourselves Brian Lockwood in second, Neil Kemp up into third. As you see, bottom of your screen, Francois Bullion has got himself up into Francois Bullion actually just came out of pit road. I take that one back. What we are seeing, though, is this pack just dissipating a little bit as we're now on lap number 39 of 70. Andrew Pecorio is in the 4th place, and just having a look, everyone outside of your top 10 has now made a green flag pit stop. If I was betting on sim racing, you bet on that, you would have made yourself a tidy packet. But what this is going to do now is spread this field out a little bit as Kane Halliburton, Rob Adams, and Roland Griffin are on pit road. .5 second stop there for Kane Halliburton. Rob Adams is still on pit road, as well as Ronan Griffin. Now, everyone but Andrew Pecorio is on the lane. So Brian Lockwood, Martin Cruz et al. This is a hugely busy pit road right now, and a lot of drivers, they are at the end of pit road, so they don't have to wait long to get back out onto the track. Here is Brian Lockwood. We ride on board with him as he does his pit stop. 10 seconds, 11, 12, 12.7, out and away he goes. That might jump him up a few positions. Of course, don't forget, you've got to accelerate back up to speed. There's a bump there right on the apex as you try and get back onto track. Brian Lockwood is 2nd place for the moment, but the gaggle of drivers behind, well, they're actually 2 seconds back right now. So this is a pack involving Philippe Leber, Brian Dewell, Enzo Cantor. Brian Lockwood has the effective race lead because here comes on towards pit road Andrew Pecorio. And get this, everyone has made a green flag pit stop in this event. Remarkable. Here's Lockwood. Sorry, that's Andrew Pecorio. I take that back. That's Pecorio onto his stall. Let's have a look at the pit stop time for him. We remain green, by the way. Lap number 43 is 70. 12.1 seconds then for Andrew Pecorio. This actually might get him out close to the front of the field. There is a look. And there are the drivers storming through turn number 1, through turn number 2. Andrew Pecorio's just got to get up to speed. He's up to speed now. And Andrew Pecorio, 1.6 second advantage. That will come down, but it's 0.8 of a second advantage over the entire field. Get that. Pecorio has just aced his pit stop there, and he did a 37.3 lane to lane. He gained so much time getting onto and off of pit road because he could do so himself. Side by side, Brian Lockwood right now in the number 43 machine. Brian Dewell, Positive Sim Racing car alongside him. The guys pitted. Well, if you're Brian Lockwood, you only pitted 3 laps ago. If your name is Brian Dewell, you pitted 6 laps ago. as it stands, just to let you know, we have got 14 minutes of this race remaining. We have only got 25 laps to go. This race is currently scheduled to go to the distance. I say that. Brian Dewell got very close there. So Brian Lockwood got very close to the side of Brian Dewell. The two are starting to pinch each other as we complete lap number 45. On board of Enzo Cantor. He's behind this, but he's got Philippe Leber alongside of him as it stands. And then in towards turn number 1. Actually, Leber is now clear and ahead, but Leber starting to get aggressive. Andrew Bacorio has been caught. The race lead will go to Brian Dewell. And this is what happens when you get caught from about a second back. It is like the anchor is dropped on your race car. Inside line, a little bit of weaving, a little bit of dodging going on. As looking for the inside line is Brian Lockwood again. Brian Dewell might actually get this one done by a sizable margin. He is clear on the exit of turn number 4. He will lead this lap. They are the Gaggles right now. This is your front pack. This is your front pack, which has got in it Brian Dewell, Philippe Leber, Brian Lockwood, Andrew Picorio, and Enzo Cantor. You've then got a gap to Neil Kemp and Francois Boulien. In a pack, you've got Francois Boulien, Andrea Amon, Martin Cruz, Edwin Valerino, Mehdi Al-Thati, as well as... No, in fact, that is the group. Go down to P number 11. You've got a little pack going on with Steve Fiacci, Simon Edwards right now. So on board with Simon Edwards, there is a driver on the left-hand side. That's number 51 of Steve Fiacci as he exits turn number 4. Behind, you have got yourself a pack going on. Diego Francisco. It's actually a free car. I say pack loosely. They are running single file. Colin Van Ram, he's got a couple of people in tow. The big battle is still going on either out front or here in the second pack with Neil Kemp, Francois Boulien, Andrea Amon, and Martin Cruz. We go on board with Martin Cruz right now. 48 laps of this event scored complete onto lap number 49. Back to your race lead. Philippe Leber has been able to make some headway. He gets the inside line in towards turn at number 3 and 4. We turn that attention round, and there you can see the University of Isabella 1. Positive sim racing machine of Brian Dewell. Brian Dewell will lead the lap. Joining him on the outside line is the driver of Brian Lockwood. Behind Philippe Leber is the number 924 car of Enzo Cantor. Now, Cantor and Leber have been in the wars before, but will they make some friends here today? And the thing to worth note here is that the TT Racing driver Philippe Leber has no friends in the mix right now. It's worth noting that Turan has had an incident that has put him out of this event. There you can see that car. It's on pit road. He is out of the car. So Turan has actually fallen to the rear of the field. And get this, we still have 28 drivers who are circulating on track right now. 51 laps of this race are about to be scored complete. Enzo Cantor very close to the side there. Brian Lockwood as they work towards turn number 1 and 2 again. And there is more lap traffic ahead of Brian Dewell and Philippe Leber. You can see they are about 25 car lengths ahead, about 2.5 seconds. As we've got a driver on towards pit road, that is Diego Francisco. And Diego Francisco just having a look. Looks as though that his day is going to be done. And actually we've got Anthony Capp on pit road for a second service as well. So having to make some repairs to that race car is the number, let's get this one right, number 25 car. But still no major incidents. These are drivers who are just losing it a little bit, scraping the wall. These cars, of course, because they're suspension-based cars, open suspension, you do hit the safety barrier and it will damage the suspension. We saw it earlier on to the point that you will have to come on towards pit road. We've got ourselves an incident We've got 2 cars on pit road. That was Martin Cruz, actually. I want to get ourselves a replay of this one if we possibly can and see what's going on. This is Martin Cruz into a 3-wide situation. In towards turn number 1. Through turn number 1, turn number 2, he makes contact. 2 guys go into the wall there. And I'm not quite sure why we don't have a caution going on right now. But evidently we are going to be running this race caution free by the looks of it. Philippe Leber on board of him again. That's our first big incident of the day. That involved Martin Cruz and Andrea Amon. So it still continues to go down in terms of number of TT Racing drivers in the field. Enzo Cantor in 4th place. You can see he's just dropped off the back of Brian Lockwood a little bit for the moment. You got to think about it as well. Top 5 in this intense oval race. Is it going to be a good point haul? Are you going to want to fight for the race win? We have got 16 laps to go. It'll be 15 laps to go at the line. On board of Duell. Brian Duell, turn number 1. Just turn that camera around. There is Philippe Leber in the TT Racing machine as they exit turn number 2. Down through the kink, and a lot of spacing still being given by these people, but it will continue to go down as we head ourselves into the last 10 minutes of this race. Brian Duell, Philippe Leber battling for the race lead. Lap traffic ahead. That, I believe, is the treble 3 car of Andreas Robertson, and he's actually a number of laps there. He's 1 lap down, looking to go 2 laps down, and he's just moving out the way. There you can see him. Everyone just going past. So a lot of respect being given by the drivers here today at ISM Raceway. The 2K World Cup has been a fast one. It's been a hard one for these drivers, but there's still 14 laps of this one to go. And there's battles going on. Scott Velt and Simon Edwards, well, they're separated by nothing. This is a 4-car train right now that maybe just trying to see if they can close up the gap. But they've got a 1.1 second deficit. No, it's 9 seconds, actually, back to the drivers of Steve Fiacci and Edwin Valerino. So you're not going to be able to really do much. These guys at some point, yeah, they're going to go 3 wide. I was thinking they're going to have to start fighting at some point, and they're doing that now through turn number 1 and 2. 13 laps to go. 3 wide through turn number 1. This is Scott Velez, Steve Fiacci, and Simon Edwards. They are 3 wide through turn, well, the dog leg, as they head towards turn number 3 and 4. And now they'll just go back to double file and single file behind. It has really been interesting in terms of who's been leading the laps here. Brian Duell will lead, then Philippe Leber will lead, then Brian Duell will lead. And it's been going backwards and forwards. And it's worth noting that I think Duell might have the advantage in terms of the number of laps led. Actually, he has. He's led 26 laps to 21 as of a few moments ago. So Brian Duell has been leading in that. And of course, that will translate to bonus points as well, as Brian Duell are just on board of him as they come through. Like last time by, Philippe Leber led the laps. It's 22 laps led for Philippe Leber, 26 laps for Brian Duell. Other lap leaders today, they are Andrew Picorio, they are Martin Cruz, they are Tran. So we've had ourselves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different leaders as we come now down to 10 laps to go. This is where business will pick up if your name's Jim Ross. Brian Lockwood, 4th place. The thing about this is we have got battles going on, but there's nothing which is too grouped up anymore. You've got 5 drivers at the front. You then got yourself 4 drivers in the mid-pack, P10, 11, 12, 13. For the most part, it is 5 guys. And the question's going to be, do you want to be the sitting duck? Do you want to be leading coming to the white flag, or do you want to be making your move on the exit of corner number 4? If your name is Brian Duell, well, you're being hauled in now on the number of laps led because Philippe Leber has pipped you to the post the last couple of laps. What about Enzo Cantor? We know Enzo Cantor can be a very aggressive driver. But what is he going to do here? As we've got 8 laps to go at the line. Will Cantor think about making it 3 wide? He thinks for a moment and then wisely, very wisely, backs out of it in towards turn number 1. That's a final lap move if you're lucky. You've got to remember that Enzo Cantor has had penalty points before. He had, of course, that moment last season down at Belle Isle in Detroit, which I still think was one of the silliest moves I've seen in the 2K World Cup for a while. He tries the ultra high side then. Let's go back on board. That was actually Andrew Becorio trying the ultra high side line in towards turn number 3 and 4, the number 53 machine. They are technically going to go 3 wide through turn number 1 and 2. The ultra high side line is not working well for Andrew Becorio, and it's a little bit of a case of how badly do you push? And Becorio is slicing through the middle, looking for the race lead. He's got it for the moment. At RKE Sim Racing on Twitter, you can follow them. But for the moment, you got the field following. Philippe Burr will not lead that lap. We have got ourselves 5 drivers who has led laps in this event. And Becorio has led now 7 laps in this event. As he's going to run the outside line. What's this actually done? More than anyone, it's hurt Brian Dewell, because now he's the second driver on the outside row, but he's going to slide it down to the inside, and he wants to now maybe have that inside line, the double 8 car. Brian Dewell exiting turn number 4. Who's going to lead this one up the line? Becorio again. 28 laps led for Brian Dewell, 8 laps led for Andrew Becorio, 24 laps led for Philippe Burr, and we still got 5 laps of this motor race to go, and we know at this stage, quite literally, anything can happen. Side by side, this time on towards the start-finish stretch, and it's clearly going to be Brian Dewell who's leading that one. Actually, oh my word, Andrew Becorio is on pit road. Did he hit the wall? I cannot see anything wrong with that car. Did he just short fuel it, Becorio? Let's have a look. Let's see how long he's going to be on pit road for. Of course, we want to go back to the action as quickly as we can. This is a splash and a dash for Andrew Becorio, taking him from 3rd place, in fact from the race lead at one point, down to outside of your top 10. This is Brian Dewell down to 3 laps to go here at ISM. And yep, there's more lap traffic involved as well. How are these drivers going to behave? Are they going to move out the way? This is a drive. They're actually pretty slow. They're going to bulk the driver. That's the number 56 machine there. That's Paul Giazzo. He is not moving out of the way by the looks of it. Philippe Burr inside line. This has gotten really interesting with 2 more laps to go. Dewell slides it down the inside and towards turn number 1. Philippe Burr is going to hold on that inside line, and now will he try and go to the inside of Brian Dewell? 1.5 laps to go here. Philippe Burr looking for the race lead. 3 wide. We're going to come to the white flag. This time by 1 more lap to go. It's Dewell from Burr from Lockwood officially at the line. 66 1,000ths of a second between 1 and 2, as well as 2 and 3. But now Burr has the inside line. They're thinking about going 3 wide. Dewell just pushed up too high there. Unless he can slot it down the middle and he's too far back. We're looking realistically at a 2-horse race unless someone manages to make that outside line work. Inside line, Philippe Burr. Outside line is going to be Brian Dewell. The winner at the line, we got contact between the 2 of them. It's going to be a photo finish. Drag race at the line. It's going to be Dewell who wins. 32 1,000ths of a second. Brian Dewell wins this round of the 2K World Cup, the 3rd round of the championship presented by DES Simulation. What a finish we have just had. There is your race winner, Brian Dewell. It's going to be 32 one-thousandths of a second at the line. And here comes some donuts. Or maybe not. He's going to think about it. It'll be a burnout at least then for Brian Dewell. But what we want to do is we want to go back and we want to show you this finish again, because this was nail-biting. So this is coming to the white flag then. Between Brian Dewell and Philippe Leber. Let's get rid of that graphic. Let's show you this one on board Brian Dewell, because you can just see on the left-hand side of your screen, Philippe Leber. They separate out. They do start getting some pressure behind them in towards turns number 3 and 4. Note the fact Enzo Cantor thought about the inside line. Brian Lockwood just waiting, hoping for an incident. And there was the slight contact between the two of them. That actually hurt Leber more than it hurt Brian Dewell, because as they crossed the line, Brian Dewell got that one in the bag. Not by much, remember, but he got it at the end. And let's have a look. Let's try and see if we can stop it there. Well, we couldn't do that. We're going to try and have a second go, shall we? As they come past the line. Well, that's how close it was. Just after the start-finish line, 1, 2, and 3. Actually, equally spaced. Brian Dewell on the outside, Philippe Leber in the middle, and then Brian Lockwood in third place. And get that, from P number 1 to P number 3, 78 one-thousandths of a second. I think we need some race results after that one. What a great green flag race at ISM. Brian Dewell, what a victory by him. 32 one-thousandths of a second over TT Racing's Philippe Leber. Positive Sim Racing taking the third round of the championship. Brian Lockwood, third place. Enzo Cantor in fourth. Francois Bullion rounding out your top 5. Mehdi Al-Thati, actually a fantastic run by him. He worked into the top 6 of this race. And I want to see afterwards just how many positions he gained. He's your biggest mover, I believe, of the day. Simon Edwards in 7th. Scott Velez in 8th. Running Griffin in 9th, and rounding out your top 10 is Rob Adams. And just to give you an update, Mehdi Al-Thati actually was not your biggest mover inside your top 10. It was actually Scott Velez from 24th up into the 8th position. Actually, no, Ronan Griffin from 26th up into 9th. Steve Fiacci then, 11th place. Andrew Bakuri, 12. Carl Dronke, 13. Diego Francisco, Neil Kemp rounds out your top 15. Remainder of those results coming up on your screen for you now. We're going to take a quick break here, ladies and gentlemen, on Racesport TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. Interviews coming up after this.
outside wall.
Gonna pass nearly 3 cars down that front straightaway, and he's gonna get them all done with. What amazing!
Lead to the inside goes Logan Cloudman is gonna touch in. Pit crash sideways. What a save!
Look to the outside as Trunkgate goes off. De Jong into second place.
Going for the switchback. Oh, pinpoint driving.
It's howling down to the inside.
I tried this contact though.
Slide left of the racetrack. Chris Renner drives it back down underneath, and he takes that second spot right back. Joker goes to Garrett Lowe.
Garrett Lowe should take victory with all that contact.
He's going to try and make the move around the outside the parabolica. That's not going to work, but he's going to try and get the cut back here. Get the run out the parabolica. That's beautifully done there. Michael Schubert, there's a little bit of door banging as well.
Welcome back to post-race coverage from the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. And here's a look then at your top 10 one more time. Brian Duell taking victory by Philippe Leber, 32 1,000ths of a second. Brian Lockwood rounds out your top 3. Let's talk to your winner, Brian Duell. That was very, very close at the last lap. It looked as though that could have been catastrophic, but your car just drifted back in the right direction, and you, my friend, are tonight's winner.
Yeah, the last lap was very close there in the final corner. Just squeezing them down as much as I can without hitting them to get a better exit.
I want to talk about the fact that this race went great. First of all, I've got to ask a question because I was told cautions would be on. Were they actually on?
That's a good question. I thought they were going to be automatic, so I was expecting there to be a pile of cautions, and there wasn't.
Yeah. There's one moment.
Worked out for me, so.
Sorry, there's one moment when we almost should have had a caution, but what you don't realise is that the rest of the race was actually surprisingly clean. I mean, how hard is it doing 70 laps flat out without a break?
Oh, it's very intense. It helps when you're running beside guys that you trust. So, like, I was side by side with Philippe pretty much the entire race, and I think we trust each other and know that we're going to hold our lines, so that makes it not as tense.
You ended up getting the win by 32 1,000ths of a second over Philippe Leber and Brian Lockwood behind as well. How much were you worried about the lap traffic coming to 2 to go?
I was pretty concerned. We had passed, I think, some other lap cars, and they were pretty good, moved out of the way. These ones did not really, so it looked like Philippe kind of backed out and let me dive in under them. I don't know if he did that on purpose, but I think if he didn't do that, it would have been a lot trickier.
Well, before we let you go, fantastic result here today in the 2K World Cup. A couple of weeks' time, it's Super Bowl Sunday. And, of course, it wouldn't be a Super Bowl Sunday without a little bit of 2K World Cup action. And in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to Imola, 3rd of February. You looking forward to that one?
Oh, yeah, that's a great track. Looking forward to. I like all the tracks pretty much, so looking forward to it. Hopefully, it can keep up the momentum, get a good result.
Shout out sponsors, who gets it done?
Yeah, I just want to thank our team, our main sponsor, Universidad Isabel, and all our other sponsors. Couldn't do that without them.
Thank you very much there, ladies and gentlemen. That was the driver of Brian Duell from one Brian to another. Brian Lockwood coming home 3rd place here today. How was your motor race?
Well, it was tense for sure. Saving race, just a fuel-saving race the whole way. Until the last couple laps where things got really, really hairy with those lapped cars.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make a move for the win, but for an oval race, anything can happen, as we all know. So I'll take a third.
Take a third. I was going to say you've got to kind of be happy with it because it was a good old event. It went green the entire way, but I mean, in terms of what about the next time out at Imola? It is Super Bowl Sunday. I'm presuming he's still going to be racing. Let's hope the Patriots don't make it. I can't say that because iRacing are Patriots fans. Darn it. But Super Bowl, of course, in 2 weeks' time. But we've also got the 2K World Cup race at Imola. We're back to a little bit of normality. But Imola, of course, a very fast track, especially since when they reconfigured it to get rid of the final chicane after the two revatzers.
Yeah, absolutely, and that makes for some interesting drafting with the Skippy. As we all know, the Skippy has a ton of draft. Going to be a lot of action at that track. A lot of people sticking together. Imola has never been a particular strength of mine, but I'm hoping he and the rest of Racecraft Engineering can have a good showing.
Well, before we let you go, Brian, shout out sponsors who gets it done.
Well, shout out to everyone at Racecraft Engineering, and also shout out to the Racing Network. We partnered with them for the Daytona 24, and Marco Ella from there also helped us out in this race with strategy and fuel and such. So big shout out to those guys.
Well, thank you very much. Brian Lockwood coming home. Third place here today. Fourth place, Enzo Cantwell. Enzo, that was a hairy, wild one. You thought about making it 3 wide at certain points, but you come home fourth place. You happy with it?
Hi guys. Yes, I'm happy because I think I finished in the first 5 position after a long time, after a big quantity of penalties, and today it was a very risky race because in the ovals is always a lottery, but I was calm enough to manage how to drive all the race, and fortunately I didn't fail the pit stop. That is another my way to lose the races, and yeah, I was trying to fight for the win, but it was very difficult all the time to pass the cars because every car was in on the road was plenty of cars, so there was no space to pass without taking too much risks, and at the end, well, I lost the momentum because Borja was putting his nose inside in the last lap, and I know the oval rules, this is allowed, but I didn't expect it in the last lap, and I lost the momentum to fight for the podium. But I'm very happy today, and I have to say congratulations to all of my other opponents.
Next time out, we go to your home country, to Imola. Looking forward to racing on home turf?
Oh, I didn't know that. Well, I'm so happy. Last time at Imola, I can remember I did some disaster. So today, this time, I will try to be more calm and to finish the race without incidents.
Well, thank you very much, Enzo. Before we let you go, shout out sponsors. Who gets it done?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I have to say thanks, obviously, to my team Taskmaster Milano, my team manager Fabio Mantellini, all my teammates, Faim Antoniades that is not here today, I don't know why, and you for the broadcast work as always, and all the other drivers in this series.
Thank you very much there to Enzo Cantor. And finally, we have the chance to talk to Mehdi Althati as you come home today in P number 6.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Well, very happy with this result. That's my best 2K result. The race did go quite well for me. Quali was okay, best quali as well for me. I was following the front pack, and at the pit stop, I lost. Sadly, I lost Kane because he had He had decided to pit one lap early and sadly had an incident a few laps later. So I went to try and catch another pack in front, which also had an incident. And yeah, then the race ended. I had a very nice battle with Francois Boulian. That was a good race, all in all, and I'm really happy.
Well, next time out, we go to Imola. Imola, a track you're looking forward to?
Yeah, definitely. That will be an interesting one. Plenty of drafting, as Brian said, so I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Well, thank you very much. They're coming home P number 6 here today. That is almost finally it. After 6.5 hours of 24 hours commentary, then doing the major series, and now this, we are at the end of our weekend. And what a weekend it has been. Don't forget, you can relive it all exclusively live on the iRacing Esports Network. And there we are. Just sort of thank you, of course, Iswan Balau, TrackCam22.com, Andreas Warner, Antoine Design, Simon Grossman, Apptioneering.com, and Nick Thisson for RaceWhat TV. Live timing and scoring. Also, don't forget, you can subscribe to the iRacing Esports Network. Just visit youtube.com/iRacing Esports Network for that one. That is it for this weekend. Thank you so much to everyone who's been a part of our coverage. And Will Vincent, so long, farewell, good night from ISM Raceway. Blech.